Let's talk about miniatures. I've been known to do some role-playing.
There's been a little bit of a Mageknight renaissance in these last couple of years, as we've seen a board game in 2015 and a video game. A new legend arises, and by new we mean hacky and recycled. Featuring Brawn Beef Knuckle, a cantankerous no-nonsense dwarf, and a cover illustration from the magazine known as Heavy Metal. Oh my goodness, this is from 2015? I think there are more polygons in my stool. Unlimited customization, awesome. I've always wanted to play a two-headed dwarven she-male. Oh, I think they just mean on the clothing. Alright, so the video game's not very good, but I hear good things about the board game. In the early 2000s, Jordan Weisman along with Kevin Barrett changed the fantasy tabletop wargaming landscape with Mageknight. This was remarkable, as many upstarts have tried and failed to take a piece of the 800-pound gorilla that was Warhammer Fantasy. But Mageknight was very successful, making $30 million in just the first 2 years. This is undoubtedly due to the innovations of collectability and the combat dial. The combat dial simulated damage on each figure. As they took injury, they'd change tactics and become less effective. This may have been the result of Jordan Weisman's previous work on Battletech, a game where fighting robots would have systems knocked offline when they took damage. The dial would go on to appear in many more games, most notably HeroClix, a game that I myself have played for years, the short-lived HorrorClix, and MechWarrior games, as well as a few other odds and ends. Now, I have to tell you, when I first saw Mageknight figures, I was grossed out by them. Many of the paint jobs made the miniatures look worse than if they were just released unpainted, and my friends were simply rebasing them and putting them right onto their tabletops. They were distractingly ugly for me. At the time, my miniatures were Ralph Parther, Reaper, Games Workshop. I was an okay painter, and Mageknight just didn't meet my aesthetic standards. I didn't know about stripping miniatures back then, so I just embellished the ones my friends were using with a simple wash and some highlighting, and it can really work miracles. Here on Miniature Mashup, we've done some Mageknight conversions before. This Drow Sorcerer, this Troll Warrior, this Werewolf, and this Orc all came from Mageknight figures. And so I've ordered a little bit over 100 Mageknight figures on eBay. It cost me about 33 bucks. So each figure is 33 cents, and that is an amazing deal on miniatures, especially considering some of them are size large and whatnot. And here they are. Here's everything I ordered. Pretty good selection. Lots of stuff. You know, the reason I ordered these is because they're things I'll see myself stripping and converting and painting. Let's start with this Elven Zealot. Now, as you can see, she is painted like Dookie. Just terrible. I'm not even sure that is acrylic paint. It almost looks like watercolors because the under plastic is showing through so strongly. There's no color on the face other than flesh tones. I mean, at least they painted within the lines, but it's just, she looks washed out and yellow and awful. So I'm going to start off by prying her off the base. I'm going to convert her because I don't have a lot of elven miniatures to begin with. And actually, yeah, I'm going to try and do something nice for my girlfriend. We've both started working full-time, so we're probably not going to get to play a lot of D&D. We kind of had to leave our D&D group because we're not available. But, you know, once in a while, maybe we can throw down some Frostgrave or something. So I'm going to make her a new Frostgrave Sorceress out of this elven miniature. And I'm going to dip her in some acetone with my vice grip, pull her out, scrub her with a toothbrush that I have just for peeling paint off of pre-painted miniatures. Here she is, unpainted, and you can see she looks better without the paint. I mean, that's what's remarkable about Mageknight miniatures. And while I was at it, I stripped the other one too, because I do like this miniature, but I cannot stand the paint job. And little E6000 and a penny, and we've got her on her new base. It's a nice heavy metal base to keep her stable. The other miniature we're going to be doing this week is this Ironblood Etten. Next, I don't actually have an Etten figure for D&D. Same thing, I'm going to pry him off using these wire cutters. I find nothing's better than a pair of wire cutters for getting HeroClix miniatures off, because they pry and cut. The only downside is you can poke yourself in the finger, which is something I do pretty frequently. Luckily, this miniature's feet are very tiny because he is sort of a resculpt of a Minotaur, which is why he's got the cow tail and cloven feet. Cloven hooves, I guess, I should say. And he, believe it or not, stands up on his own. Now, I am going to strip him, same way, with the vice grips, in an old butter container and some acetone. Just put him in there, pull him out, hit him with a toothbrush, and he cleans up pretty good. Here he is, all in his naked yellow plastic. Now, the only reason to be in Etten is so you can wield two weapons effectively with that nice +7 bonus, so I've got to give him a second weapon. He's not going to use that hand to scratch himself in combat, so we're going to Dremel a hole into his hand and also into his feet, because, as you know, if you watch this show on large plastic miniatures, I like to screw them into their bases instead of using glue. I mean, I use glue too, but I also use small machine screws to put them into their plastic bases to make sure they're held firmly. Now, I've constructed a Morning Star for him out of a bit of wire and a large plastic jewel bead, and as you can see, I've got him screwed into his base. We've got a nice 2x2 large base square, which I cut out of some plastic for him. We're then going to put some glue on the top of the base, because we're going to begin flocking it. This is slightly watered down white PVA glue. And then we put the craft sand over that, and I'll let him sit overnight while that cures. Let's take a look and see how our Elven Zealot turned out. Here we are, just going through the different steps of painting, including highlights and shadows and then base coat. And here's a look at the finished project from a couple of different angles. I thought she came out okay. I'm much happier with how the Iron Blood Etten turned out. Let's take a look.